US-63. Alright. We'll be looking at the entire route of US-63. I'm going to be experimenting with a new format, so I hope you enjoy it. If not, let me know, but I think it's going to be a little better than how I've usually done this. US-63 goes from Ruston, Louisiana to around Ashland, Wisconsin. It doesn't make it quite there, but ends at US-2 before you get there. Do everything you see below, and let's get started. We'll be looking at US-63 northbound. So here on Interstate 20, we only get a sign for 167. We get no signage at all for US-63, which I really don't like. It's signed for Ruston since South 167 takes you to Ruston, and we're signed north for DuBois, which I don't really like. I'll explain in a minute what my choice is out of Ruston. But what we get on 167 North, we do get a US-63 shield right here. So, yeah, I don't know why they didn't have that on that exit. And first mileage sign I could find out of Ruston, we have DuBois 13 and Junction City 36. So I would actually sign this El Dorado, Arkansas, because it's not too far away and it's probably the biggest thing we're going to pass through until we get to it. They signed DuBois and Junction City, which are really small places. Junction City is sort of a twin city between Louisiana and Arkansas. They're both roughly around 400 people each, so even combined, it's only 800 people, so I don't really agree with that. This should be El Dorado. But now we get Bernice. We don't even get either of those other two cities. But now we get Junction City 14 and El Dorado 31. So at least they do mention it. Here is Junction City. This is the state line. We see a Welcome to Arkansas sign right here. These are the Arkansas style stoplights. So I imagine they're the ones that maintain this part of the state line. And into Arkansas, we have Junction Arkansas South 10 and El Dorado 15, so Arkansas is doing a good job here. We get Junction US 82-4 and El Dorado 5, as we're still concurrent with 167 and 63. Here is 82 that we meet, is signed for Crossit for going east, and then west is signed for Magnolia. From 82, we're just signed North Main Street. And now on US-63 only now, we have Old Union 7 and Warren 48. And once we get close to the Warren, we have Warren 12 and Pine Bluff 59. So I think these two choices are pretty good. Warren, you meet with US-278, and it's like 5,000 people. And it's not too close to Pine Bluff, so I'm okay with Warren here. Pine Bluff is definitely the next correct choice after it. And we meet with 278. We're still signed north for Warren for 63, and then 278 is signed for Hampton and Monticello, which I think are good choices. Now we still have Pine Bluff on the sign, and as we continue, we meet Junction I-530 5 miles, and then Pine Bluff is 8 miles. Here we meet with 530. 530 North is signed for Little Rock, 530 and 63 South is signed for Lake Village and Stuttgart. Stuttgart is for 63 and Lake Village is for 530 / US-65. Which is a little weird because we don't have any US-65 signage at all here. As 530 ends, 63, 79, and 65 Business split off for Harding Avenue. Here's the best look at the Saracen Casino in Pine Bluff. And here is a roundabout showing US-63, but for some reason it says East 63 instead of North 63, so I thought that was a little weird. This is supposed to be a north-south road, but they say E63. But our next sign, it says North 63. This is just a bit further up from that roundabout sign. In fact, here's the roundabout right here. We get Stuttgart as our bottom line city, which I think is a good choice from Pine Bluff. Now we have Stuttgart 23 and Junction US 49 as we're concurrent with 79. Now we're signed for Stuttgart and Clarendon. Clarendon, I believe, is for US 79. And here is the split for 63 and 79. And yes, Clarendon is for 79. And then 63 is now signed for Hazen and England. England is on there because it meets with 165. And then we are signed for Hazen. Now we have Hazen 20 and England 25 when we are concurrent with 165. Here we're meeting with US 70 in Hazen. West 63 and West 70 are signed for Hazen, and East 70 is signed for Devall's Bluff. And here we split off of US 70 is signed for Junction I-40 and Des Arc. Des Arc, I think, is for a state highway. Now, North 63, we have Junction I-43 and Junction AR-11-3, which I think is the state highway that takes you to Des Arc. Here is Interstate 40, is signed for Little Rock and Memphis, which is good. And luckily, we don't get West Memphis. And from I-40, we are now signed for 63 and 49 for Brinkley and Cotton Plant after the 40 and 63 concurrency. And now we get Fair Oaks 25 and Jonesboro 73. So they signed Jonesboro after Brinkley. Here we meet with US-64. It's signed for Bald Knob and Wynn, and Jonesboro gets kind of a weird zigzag arrow, but I do kind of like that it's a zigzag arrow and not just a right turn arrow, because it tells you that you'll have to merge onto 64 for a brief time, but then you quickly exit off. So I think these arrows are kind of helpful. Meet with 78 just outside of Jonesboro, and Junction Highway 226 is signed for Cash, and then we are going to be signed for Jonesboro. Here we meet with Interstate 555 in Jonesboro, and North 63 will be concurrent with North 555 for Walnut Ridge and Hoxie. I think signing both of those is good because 63 doesn't quite make it to Walnut Ridge. It's kind of side by side with Hoxie, but Walnut Ridge is slightly bigger than it, so I do like the signage here. And now, once 555 ends, we have Junction Arkansas 231 and Walnut Ridge in 16 miles. And it goes back and forth between Hoxie and Walnut Ridge. Here is the junction with US-67 and US-412, the main reason for signing Hoxie. And it is signed for Little Rock for going southbound and Walnut Ridge for going northbound. I do hope they change this to St. Louis soon. I know this isn't really a freeway yet to St. Louis. Walnut Ridge is the last place where the 67 freeway goes, and it just becomes like a surface street after that, or divided highway. And then now we get North 63, Black Rock 9, and Hardy 40. I don't really like Hardy as the next choice because Cherokee Village, even though like it doesn't exactly go to Cherokee Village, I would rather see that signed. Or if you're not going to sign that, maybe sign West Plains, Missouri. I think either one of those I'd be okay with, because Cherokee Village is sort of around the where 63 and 412 will split, so I think that would be the way I would go. And we still get Hardy signed, and we get E62 for Pocahontas and also Business District. And now we get Hardy 16 and Mammoth Spring 32 once we get closer to Hardy. Mammoth Spring is honestly a really provincial choice. I think you should be signing something in Missouri at this point. If you're not going to sign Cherokee Village, you should sign something in Missouri. And here, US-63 splits off after the 62 and 63 concurrency. It is signed for Ash Flat, and we are still signed for Mammoth Spring. And once in Mammoth Spring, we get Thayer signed, which wouldn't have been too bad after Hardy or Cherokee Village, but I think I would still sign this for West Plains because it is a bit bigger. Missouri welcomes you. And we get Koshkonong, West Plains, and Rolla. So not only do we get West Plains, but we get a city beyond it for Rolla. So far, pretty good sign, Missouri. I think both of these are sensible primary controls. Let's hope it sticks. And now we get Brownsville 5, West Plains 16, and Jefferson City 178. So one thing I noticed about Missouri is they like to change up these mileage signs. They like to put different primary controls on them. And so we skip Rolla on this one, and we sign Jefferson City, which is the state capital, and I do think is worth mentioning. And I probably wouldn't sign it as like a true primary until near or after Rolla, but it is kind of cool that we have it here. Meet with 160 in West Plains, and we will be concurrent with it for a short time. And here is that concurrency ending. And we meet with US-60. US-60 East is signed for Mountain View and Poplar Bluff. West 60 and North 63 is now signed for Willow Springs and Kabul, which Kabul is where these two roads split, but I wouldn't really sign that too much. I mean, maybe as a secondary, but I think this should still be Rolla. And we get Kabul 12, Springfield 18, or Springfield 80, and then Neosho 154. So we get mostly US-60 signage here. We don't really get anything for US-63, although Springfield is the biggest thing between these two roads, so I do understand that. But Neosho 154, I think you should replace that with a control for US-63, albeit either Rolla, Jefferson City, Columbia, something like that. And here is the split. It's signed for Houston and Rolla. So Rolla I am okay with on 63. I know I roasted it a bit in the 44 video just because it's not that big of a city to sign on an interstate, but for US-63 I think it is a good choice. And now we get Houston 15, Licking 29, and Jefferson City 126. And now we get Rolla 33 and Columbia 128. So interesting that Jefferson City gets skipped on the sign, but Columbia is bigger, so I do understand them signing it. I don't mind this too much as long as we get like bigger controls down the line. And now we get Rolla 19, Jefferson City 82, and Columbia 111, which is a great mileage sign. That's exactly how it should be. Here we are in Rolla. We meet with Old Route 66. And here is Interstate 44. It is signed for Springfield, St. Louis, how it generally is in Rolla. And now we get Vienna 23, Jefferson City 60, and Columbia 90. So good mileage sign here. However, I'm not a fan of this next sign. We have Vienna 11, Jefferson City 49, and Moberly 113. Which is a city beyond Columbia and is quite a bit smaller than Columbia. So, no, you should be signing Columbia here. We should not be skipping to a smaller city beyond it. And here is US-50. Extreme Geography made several videos on US-50. Go check them out if you haven't already. East 50 is signed for St. Louis, which is a great choice. It is the fastest way from Jefferson City to St. Louis, but probably shouldn't be signed too much before it, going like coming from the west. And now 63 and 50 are both signed for Jefferson City. Here is the best look at the Capitol building in Jefferson City. And then now when 50 and 63 split, 50 West is signed for Sedalia, and then East 54 and North 63. It doesn't have any signs on this pull-through, but we do see Fulton and Columbia signed. And here 63 splits off north for Columbia. Now we have Columbia and Moberly signed, which, since we're getting closer to Columbia, I think I'm okay with Moberly on this sign right now. Here we meet with I-70 indirectly. We kind of have to cut off on like a small exit ramp and through a little bit of a surface street to try to get to I-70. 63 North now just has a pull-through for Moberly. And now we get Moberly and Macon signed as we come out of Columbia. And now we have Moberly 13, Macon 37, and Kirksville 70. I think these are good choices from here. And now US-24 we meet is signed for Moberly. And now Macon 12, La Plata 31, and Kirksville 44. So Kirksville is on the bottom line, so that's good. We meet with US-36 and is signed for St. Joseph and Hannibal, how it generally is on 36. Now we have Atlanta 10, Kirksville 32, and Lancaster 56, which Lancaster's sort of the last place in Missouri. Not too sure about it. And now we get 136 that we're concurrent with. And now we have Lancaster 2, Bloomfield, Iowa 23, and Waterloo, Iowa 168. So we get a Waterloo signage, which is really cool. And here is the concurrency with 63 and 166 ending. We get a People of Iowa welcome you sign right here. And now we're signed for Bloomfield in 5 miles and Ottumwa in 24 miles. But now we have Ottumwa 19, and Oskaloosa 47, and Waterloo 147. So they don't sign Waterloo too much at first, but we do get it a bit later, which is pretty cool. Still in 147 miles, still pretty far out. And now we meet with 34, and we will be concurrent with it for a short time. It's time for Fairfield and Oskaloosa. Get a North 63 Oskaloosa next right, which I think is an okay choice. If you're not going to sign Waterloo, Oskaloosa is a generally okay thing to sign. Because Waterloo, it's not a gigantic place. So I'm okay with signing a few more like substantial towns along the way. And now we get Oskaloosa 9, New Sharon 19, and Waterloo 109. And we get New Sharon 11, Montezuma 24, and Waterloo 99. Meet with Interstate 80 is signed for Des Moines and Davenport, which is sensible. I could see Chicago being signed for 80 East, but Davenport is pretty big and it's part of the Quad Cities, so I think I'm okay with that. And from my 80, 63 is now signed for Tama and Montezuma. Meet with US-6 here. We'll be concurrent with it for a short time. And here's that concurrency ending. We're now signed for Tama and 16 miles. Meet with US-30. It will be concurrent with it for a short time. Now we have Hudson 14 and Waterloo 24. So we're getting pretty close to Waterloo. Meet with US-20. It's signed for Fort Dodge and Dubuque, or Dubuque. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And we also get a 2 Interstate 380 mentioned right here, so that's good to see. And now we meet with 218, and North 63 will be concurrent with it for a bit. And 63 North now is signed for Downtown, Riverfront, and Young Arena, and 218 South is just signed for Washington Street. Here is the best look of Waterloo I could find. And then now coming out of Waterloo, we get New Hampton 27 and Rochester, Minnesota 100 miles. So I like to see that. Rochester is a pretty big city in Minnesota, and I like that Iowa is signing it. But here we get Fredericksburg 24 and New Hampton 24. I'm not too sure about that. I would much rather see Rochester on this sign. But here we still don't get it even on the pull through. We could get West 18 and North 63 for New Hampton and Mason City, and East 18 for Fredericksburg and Nashua. But once we get a little bit closer to New Hampton, we get Mason City and Rochester Min on the sign. And when 18 splits off of 63, it is now signed for Lime Springs and Rochester, Minnesota. West 18 gets New Hampton and Mason City. Lime Springs, I think, is really useless to put on that sign. It is not that big. It's basically one of the last places in Iowa, so I think just Rochester would work. Here we are crossing into Minnesota. We get a Welcome to Minnesota sign. This is kind of similar to the one on US-75, so it's one of these. And we do get Rochester on the mileage signs in Minnesota, so they're doing pretty good there. Hopefully they do a little better than on 75, but this is definitely not indicative of that because we get Rochester 26, which is good. But we get Austin 31, which 63 does not go to, and the highway that it does meet also does not go to. It's a city on Interstate 90. So, you know what that means? They opt to not sign even Albert Lee. Like, Albert Lee isn't great, but it would be better than Austin. And now we get Grand Meadows, Stewartville, and Rochester. So I believe this is the road to take to get to Austin, but we don't even get Austin signed. We get Grand Meadow. And then we get Stewartville and Rochester. I guess Stewartville's sort of an interstate junction, so you meet I-90 there, so I guess it's worth signing. And here is the meeting with I-90. This is not very good. West should be Sioux Falls, and east should be Madison. It should not be Austin and La Crosse. I mean, why? And here we are entering the Rochester area. We meet with US-52. It's signed for St. Paul and Preston. Here we meet with US-14 West for Civic Center Drive, and we'll be concurring with it for a bit. Here, North 63 splits off. It is signed for 75th Street Northwest. And now we get Jonesboro Falls 9 and Lake City 24. So I think Lake City is a good choice just because the rest of 63's run, there's really not too many big places. And Lake City, I think, is substantial enough to sign, so I think that works. And here we meet with 61, 63. 61, 63 will be concurrent for a bit as we turn left here. Also, kind of weird that we have a doghouse light, since Minnesota usually doesn't use these. They just use the 5-section vertical ones. But hey, that's kind of cool that we found some of these. And now we have Red Wing 15, Hastings 42, and St. Paul 62. And here we are splitting with 61. It is going to cross into Wisconsin from here, just at the stoplight. And here is the majestic entrance into Wisconsin. We see a state name sign right here. We get a Wisconsin welcomes you sign right here. And now we get Ellsworth and 10 miles. We meet with US-10, and we'll be concurrent with it briefly. And here is the split. We have Baldwin and Elmwood signed for where we're going. We get Martell 8 and Baldwin 19 miles. Meet with I-94 is signed west for St. Paul, which is correct. 94 East Eau Claire. I'm not too sure about Eau Claire. And we meet with US-12 East is signed for Woodville, and then we're now signed for Spooner, Turtle Lake, and Hammond. I think Spooner could probably do the job by itself, but I know that US-12 is with us, so we're getting US-12 control cities. And here is the split. We are now signed for Amory and Turtle Lake. And now we get Clear Lake 24 and Spooner 70. So Spooner is our next priority control. But now we just get Clayton 7 miles. What happened to Spooner? Here we meet with US-8 is signed for St. Croix Falls, and we will be concurrent with it for a short time to Barron and Spooner. And here is the split with US-8 and 63. We are still signed for Spooner. After Spooner, we get Hayward 26. And as we split for another exit, we still have Hayward signed. And now Hayward 20 miles and Ashland 78. So they do sign Ashland. They don't sign anything else between Hayward and Ashland. In fact, here's another sign for it, and we get a little bit of a snow picture. And this is a really bad street view quality, but we get Ashland 12 miles. Couldn't really find a lot of good quality stuff. This is all from 2008. And here is the very end of US-63. It ends at US-2. And US-2 East will go to Ashland. And this is where we will end US-63. So, north, my final verdict is El Dorado, then Warren, Pine Bluff, Stuttgart, Hazen, Brinkley, Jonesboro, Hoxie, and Walnut Ridge. Then I'd say Cherokee Village after that instead of Hardy. Then I'd say Thayer and West Plains, because Thayer is sort of like worthy of secondary status, but I wouldn't sign as a primary. Then just West Plains, then Kabul and Rolla, because Kabul is where the highway split is, and then just Rolla after that, and Jefferson City, Columbia, Moberly, Macon, Kirksville. Then I'd say Lancaster, Bloomfield, Ottawa, Oskaloosa, Tama, and Waterloo, since you get kind of close to Waterloo there, and then Waterloo only after that, then Rochester, Lake City, Red Wing, Ellsworth. I think I'm okay with Ellsworth after seeing its stats. And then after that, Baldwin, then Spooner, Hayward, and Ashland. And thank you so much for watching. Be on the lookout for the southbound video. It's coming up next. And be on the lookout for any other highways that I have plans for. Thanks for watching, and hope you've enjoyed.